Hey, this is a one shot of Wield run by Michael, who has run this quite a few times, and the rest of us are all neophytes and ignorant, so he will coddle us and carry us along until we destroy everything. Michael, take it away.
All right, I'm going to start off with just a super quick overview of just what has happened so far. This is a world that we created through Microscope and then started playing with, and then because the player had to leave and ended up we abandoned the campaign. But the world still works and cool stuff has happened. Basically, what you see here is the world. There are, because my Photoshop mistakes ended up becoming these floating islands, these revenants that were ripped up, partly because of what happened in like a war between some Vacha, which are the magical items that you are playing. And what we'll go with the important part is essentially a god was created by the Vacha accidentally, and the other gods have recently just left the world, at least for a time, and they're sort of the goddess of fate is not done too happy with the Vacha in general. But as far as the world stuff goes, that's the only thing you really need to know. There's floating islands that were ripped up, and basically everywhere Vacha was at one point, because the gods tried to remove the Vacha from the world without realizing it's often very easy for them to get other places. They lifted up the world around them into these islands, which still float around like in circuits around the places where they came up from. So the first thing we'll do is we'll introduce your Vacha to each other. After you've kind of talked about this is how you see them, this is who they are, then the next step is going to be you're going to take some turns. Each of you is going to add a connection, a part of a history with each other. Now, you're not going to necessarily talk about it first. You're going to put it down, and then we'll kind of read how have each of these other, with the three of you, how have each of you kind of interfered or helped or gotten in the way of each other's lives before now? Who would like to begin introducing who they are playing, at least the Vacha side?
I could go. I am playing Gazale, the Gauntlet, because I cannot resist the chance to play a Gauntlet.
Gazale.
Yep, well, that's it. Laser focus. Gazala's goal is to destroy the Unholy Reaver. The as yet unnamed Unholy Reaver, but I'm sure that I could name it with just a flip of a page. I think that my Unholy Reaver's name is Sigaber. I will put that in my character sheet. And the domains that Gazala have are complex. Necromancy, power, and control. Gazala is looking forward to destroying Sigaber.
And also realizing, of course, that it's you kind of start to get your feet under your character as you go. You can also tell us what you might think of their personality. Vacha can always communicate with each other. If they're wielders, they can communicate if the wielders have them, but there's essentially like a psychic phone network between all the Vacha that they have their personalities, they can speak. So maybe how you see them as an entity.
I think that Gazala is, for an ancient being, it's sadly petty. Gazala, even though their powers are vast, they're mostly trying to destroy Sigaber over a breakup. Like they used to be the holy. One time the Gauntlet held the sword, and everything was good. And the Sigaber had to move on. Gazala has not let it go. Just will not let it go. Constantly bitching about it. Yeah, kind of petty.
Oh, it's an emo Gauntlet.
More like keeps going on Twitter rants, talking about how much Gazala hates Sigaber, but in actuality, it's kind of obvious.
And I don't need Sigaber. I don't need her. It just, unless a dashboard confessional, you know how I get.
Yes, that.
Excellent. And next one. We'll go with Patrick.
Yeah. So I'm playing Y, the luggage, It's not a specific name so much as translated the name that everyone everywhere tends to give it. They give it often different last names, like why is it doing that? Why is it looking at me? Why is it eating my leg? But he's just gone with the general first name that they all seem to agree on. Um, its domains are creation, destruction, and insight, um, where which really come into use because its goal is to search the world and find the perfect tourist, where it wants to determine all of the worst dangers of vacationing in this world, then stress test new wielders until it finds one that can live through all of them, then protect and provide for that perfect tourist through all of their travels. And when the perfect tourist finally tires of their permanent vacation, see that they find the home they've been looking for.
I just realized you're the luggage from Joe versus the volcano.
I haven't seen that one.
It's not great, but this, but just like I like the luggage features in it.
Gotcha. I think maybe it was made with like the soul of a primordial like canine god. There's a lot of feralness and extreme loyalty to especially if it's finding a wielder that really seems like he's doing well. There's a lot of like kindness and consideration and watching out for his wielder, not just their physical safety, but like their interests, watching out for their social standing, being very protective of them, but just callous and destructive to everything else.
Excellent. All right,
Um,
and Tyler, oh,
yeah,
is there
no,
anything else?
that's it.
Okay, Tyler, you haven't had as much time, but what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I'm playing the Crown Polaris, who has its desire, is to find a wielder that is worthy of taking on the mantle of godhood. Generally speaking, this has proven to be difficult as over and over wielders have failed to live up to the standards Polaris has for them. Polaris's control of light, darkness, and death is the ultimate reach of all things supernatural, and one day he will find that perfect wielder who shall lift up and make this world burn.
Nice. Okay, and like personality-wise, what do you like?
I
What it
think
feels like it might be?
I think probably he's kind of snotty. I think that he's kind of a little mean to these wielders. He expects more of them than they're probably capable of. He pushes them along, but at the same time, he's ever hopeful that this next one's going to be right. So he just keeps making them stronger and stronger until they burn out.
So this is kind of the dad that coaches the little league team
That's it exactly.
with his son as the star player. Got it. Got it.
Or if not, he finds a new son. Okay. So the next step, like to intertwine them, what might be easier is just to take the person below. Make sure you're no longer in your character sheet, and grab the person below you. So Gosla would grab Y would grab Tyler, Tyler would grab Gosla, and there's a little thing there that says like histories and connections. So for this one, and let me just kind of read you the real quick thing on it. That's what step 6, I think. 5, 4. Yeah. So during the step, you each pass Vacha to the left. Then each one writes down a connection you have to this one. Keep in mind these are connections the Vacha have to each other. They're not talking about mortal wielders yet. And then you pass it on to the next one. Then you get to read them out loud. So you don't necessarily know what it's going to be. The idea that you have been around since very possibly the beginning of time. So there has been quite a long time for things to happen and for people to have become enemies and then friends and then enemies again, or vice versa or whatever during all that time. So probably start with each person grabbing the person below them, and then in the histories and connections, writing down how your Vacha has been associated with that one before, And if there's no questions while you're filling that first part out, I'm gonna fill my drink real quick and be right back.
Okay, so I'm filling out for one of you.
Yes.
Godzilla.
Yep. Just open up Gosla.
Okay.
For Paul Edson, you can write history of couldn't connect, so no connections. But for Gosla, which is me, I think we have free reign. I have an idea for why. How does this sound, Patrick? Want to check in with you?
Sure.
For nearly 100 years, we worked together. It kept reanimating your perfect tourist wielder for you.
Yeah, I think I don't know whether you like convinced me or I just sort of chosen to ignore some of my goals. Like maybe I just chose to not quite go on to step 4 where they want to retire to their perfect home, and I just kept looking for ways to make the vacation keep going. Even if people were getting a little gray and stitched up and desiccated.
Holly. Holly's the name of your wielder that I kept reanimating over and over.
Nice. So Tyler for Polaris there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Y followed one of your wielders out of the underworld. Like maybe this was his first emergence into the world, or just like when he came back into modern era sort of thing, but he'd just been lost in the underworld for a long time. One of your wielders was going through there, and this thing just followed him out.
Oh, that sounds cool. That sounds excellent.
Okay.
Rich, how about how about if I have at times been used by a wielder of the Unholy Reaver as well. As in, he would have the Reaver and me on his head. And so we've encountered each other as adversaries, and now that I have a different wielder, I probably share your dislike, though not your dedication to the destruction of the Unholy Reaver. How does that sound?
So you're saying I need to recruit you a little further?
That sounds good, yeah.
But at least we see eye to eye, except your eyes are not quite
Excellent.
on target. Is that it? We've all done one round. Do we do more, Michael?
Yeah, and then at that point, you will close out of the ones you've got and then go into the other person's and do the same thing.
All right.
So with Y following one of the wielders out of the underworld, does that mean that Y originated from the underworld? Or just happened to be there at the time?
I think
It's
just
got
had
some lovely like fireside condos. If you've been down there, it's like you think it would suck. It's really interesting.
I think he'd sort of been lost to the ages in the underworld. I don't think it's where he's from originally, although, like I said, sort of soul of a dead god stuffed into him. So he's got the connections. You know, he's got family down there. But yeah, I think he'd just been lost down there for thousands of years.
Like a handbag.
By the way, considering that, Robin Leach apparently is still alive.
Wow. That was left field.
No, because the whole like luggage, like, it's really nice down there. I'm like, I can see Robin Leach down there. I'm like, he's still alive. Yes, he is.
So now I'm doing one for you, Patrick, correct?
Mhm.
How would you like if it is my belief that somewhere in your journeys you have picked up one of the things needed to make my wielder a god. You may not know it. It's somewhere lurking in your infinite space, but I believe somewhere in there is the orb or whatever.
Yeah, good luck getting that back out.
I just got to convince you to bring it out.
Mm.
That sound good?
Yeah. And did you write yours on riches?
I think so. I hope so. Did it not stick?
I question that assertion.
Okay, I know I wrote it. The question is if it stayed there.
Doesn't
I thought I
seem to
hit
have.
save.
Did you hit the
changes.
save? Oh, yeah, maybe not.
I'll go back and do it in a minute then.
Okay. Rich for Gazala. I think Y at some point consumed and then concealed from you for decades the unholy reaver. Maybe it's Wielder too.
Say again?
Why consumed the unholy reaver and then hid it from you for decades.
Oh, and I thought you destroyed it, but it turns out that you had just hidden it. Very disappointing.
So it's a lot of
A
things.
little
sitting
love
down
nest
here.
with your ex. That's all I'm hearing.
Consume Sigab, I see. Oh. How about this? In an attempt to motivate Polaris against Sigaba, the unholy reaver, Gazala destroyed the High King Arturio Torin and blamed it on the sword because the king was all cut up and stuff.
Oh, I like that.
Totally up to you if you bought it.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Right.
That was everybody?
Yep.
Sweet. All right, just about there. All I need you to do is I have a folder with some wielders in it. Roll a d10, and then I will grab that one and make it visible for you.
So roll a d10. Okay.
Give me 2 seconds. I apparently didn't save onto riches, so let me do that real quick.
I rolled an 8 Rooney.
I got a 1.
Okay, so Rich, Gladys Ascoine, and
Is that my wielder?
yep. And what's Achilles Varga is wise. And Tyler, let me know what you roll.
I rolled a 1.
And then put up here, Stefan Mitros, currently the wielder of Polaris. So for each of those, if you go ahead and open it up, their name is right over the top. It tells you their background. Gladys Escawine, or however you want to pronounce it, was lesser nobility. Now, the destiny, which she may or may not know about, is discover the treachery of the Lords of a Star. Personality right now is guarded. The first thing you're going to do is add a new personality trait to your wielder. So that's Gladys, so Achilles, Knight of the Nurid Isle. Destiny is to pacify Roloff's generals against Keterin. Roloff was originally supposed to be a Christ figure. Then the player characters fucked up fate so badly. Like literally within 2 episodes, the entire microscope we'd set up for like, oh, this is what the 30th age of the world is supposed to be. They had screwed it up so badly. 2 sessions in, we had to go back. So then Roloff became a satanic figure practically because the goddess of fate kind of, instead of using him as a savior, kind of went insane. Because he was supposed to be the only child who wasn't killed when everyone under the age of 13 died, except the players thwarted that and created a new god instead. So Roloff is essentially trying to place it correct by killing off an entire generation. So that is Achilles, who's sarcastic, and Stefan Blacksmith. He's supposed to kill the Bandit King, and he is morose. So, sorry. That's the wielder you control. Sorry, we'll get the actual ones that they wield. So the one that's, to make it easier, the one underneath your character right now, that's the one that you control. We will in a moment. Why don't we do this way? So it's easier. Why the luggage? Why don't you just roll a d6?
Okay.
And tell me high or low.
Call it first.
Nope, just roll it and then tell me if it's high or low.
Two, so low.
Low. Okay. So Achilles wields Polaris, which means Stefan will have to wield Gazala, and Gladys will, or actually no, I guess no, Stefan could actually then wield Y or Gazala. To actually have it so it's a little more, you're not doing each other. Stefan will have Gazala, and then Gazala will have, or Gladys will have Polaris. So basically, it's shifting all of them down. So your wielder has the one that's down from you, flipping back up to the top for Polaris. Take.
Okay.
So wait, is my wielder Stefan then?
Yeah. So the wielder you control is Gladys, and Gladys is the wielder of the luggage. Stefan is the wielder who actually has Gazala.
Gotcha. So we're controlling. We play the wielder of someone else's stuff,
yep.
Of someone else's item. I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I control Gladys,
and it sometimes helps to actually change the name. So maybe it says wields, like here's the name, and then wields whichever, or in parentheses just put the one that you wield.
Oh, I don't think we have edit. Oh, I mean in our own name.
Oh.
Okay.
And so Tyler, I think you as a player are controlling Stefan, right?
Yes.
But Stefan is controlling Gazala.
There's Stefan wields. Yeah, the thing is, you don't control it, so there can be power struggles between your wielder and the item.
Gotcha. I was having a lot of pronoun issues there.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to get used to, but it is a thing here where your wielder is control your item is wielded by someone else, but your wielder is wielding another character's thing. Nice thing is, it means it's very easy to put everybody in a scene together.
So when you say and I'm sorry, I'm slow. When you say they're controlled, are you saying that I control Gladys? I'm role playing Gladys.
Yeah, Gladys is the wielder that you are playing, and Gladys is the wielder of
is carrying around why.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we're also role playing the personality of our things, right?
Yes. And sometimes it'll be like there can be stuff where sometimes it'll just be your various items kind of talking in that nether space. Sometimes you may even come into conflict with your wielder if the wielder wants to do one thing and you want to do something else. And the more power you've given your wielder, the more chance that they can actually struggle against you. A couple notes here real quick. Yeah, go ahead and add a second personality trait to your character.
I can't.
Oh, let
I
me
can't edit.
I can.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to put. You can now edit.
So Tyler, what sort of god are you trying to make here?
I'm envisioning a kind of judge of the dead sort of guy. Light, darkness, and where the picker of those who go on to reward and those who go on to punishment sort of idea.
Gotcha.
I need to pick another personality.
So once we do the one personality trait, is there anything else we need to change about?
Nope. Really, that's at that point. Then we're ready to go.
Well, Gladys has the personality of guarded.
Mhm.
She is lonely.
Okay. Is she a widow or is she not yet married?
She's a widow.
Okay, good.
That's
For
why
I
she
think
started.
she'll have like a homestead to make it so we have kind of everybody a little bit more together. Which in a non one shot, it's much easier to be kind of spread out and some stuff, but we'll kind of put them a little bit closer on this one.
Cool.
Actually. And then you can decide, have you given your wielder, and you can kind of talk to the person who's wielding it a little bit, maybe talk about what you've done in the past. Do you think you've given your wielder any of your abilities before now? Because once you grant an ability to the wielder, they are able to sort of use it pretty much whenever they want. And if you'll notice for the wielder, there's a little pyramid. Like one has just one box, two has two. So like if I give you a level 10 ability, then I'd fill in 10 of those check marks, which would put you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You'd fill up like 4 up to level 4 would be completely filled, which means the wielder would have 4 dice against the 6 if the Vacha wants to take control. And if you've only given like a power of 2, they would have 1 and 1 and 1 and 2, so they'd have 2 dice. Like the moment you enter in to that column, you get that many dice against the wielder or against the Vacha.
If I wanted to give a wielder level 1, 2, and 3 in one of my domains, would that take 3 ticks or 6?
It's 1, 2, and 3 is 6. Like each individual power you give them gives them more ticks, which gives them more control. Like at level 5, they know how to destroy you.
Gotcha.
Which is not something worked in because it's just a one shot.
Could I give them levels 1, 4, and 10 in one domain?
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe 15, like 15 ticks.
Okay. So they don't have to be consecutive.
Exactly.
Okay. When I put in my personality trait, did I put that in for the person I'm controlling or the one who wields me?
For you're putting it in for the wielder. Because remember, you're controlling a wielder of somebody else. So Stefan wields Gazela, but the violence you put in there is for Stefan.
Okay. So someone still has to do Aeschylus for me. That's not who I put in.
No,
right. I did that.
Yeah, but remember, Aeschylus is wielded, but Aeschylus is played by Patrick, who has Polaris. So that's your Vacha's wielder.
Mm-hmm.
So like if there is any scene with Aeschylus in it, both of you are a part of it.
Okay. I just want to know, who am I supposed to put another personality trait into?
On Stefan.
Stefan. Okay. And so no one yet has put in a second one in for Aeschylus.
Untrue.
He's morose and violent.
He just may not have closed out of it or hit save yet.
Okay, because all I see is one on Aeschylus. It's sarcastic.
Sarcastic and curious.
That is not coming up for me yet.
I don't see curious. Oh, it's on his next line.
Okay. Gotcha.
I missed that as well. All right. We're going to start then. Oh, and also we'll say it's a gauntlet game. So X card, probably easiest way here. Just I will say one of the things I doubt we'll have to do to use it, but an interesting thing about Wield is the morality of the Vacha tend to be different. They're kind of amoral in some respects, simply because humans do last such a short period under them. So there can be an interesting mix of this almost casual cruelty. It's usually not dwelled on, at least in my experience with it. But yeah, if that's ever a thing, and then we will sort of pause there. All right, are we ready?
Yep.
Aeschylus, am I pronouncing that correct? Or Aeschylus? Aeschylus. All right. Aeschylus, you have a platoon that's going through Fade on your way to a star. You have been sent from the Nurid Isles essentially to try to help in a war against Keterin. And Roloff has built up a fairly large army, and he is in a star essentially trying to ferret out the cult of Dara, which is one of 2 different Dara religions there. Roloff has become a very powerful general, and you're kind of on your way there. But you've been traveling across the land for a while, and, well, 2 things happen. As you're starting to approach a homestead, and one, that stopping for rite of hospitality is always an option. However, your Polaris, you are aware that Gladys has. This is the thing that's a little confusing until you get kind of used to who it was. Okay, yeah, Polaris, you are aware that sure I've got this right. You're aware that there is another Vacha in the area. Both of you are aware, like Y and Polaris. You can sense each other as this knight and his army are coming closer.
Okay, so Y is there too?
Yeah, so basically all three of you are in this scene. Two people, like, so Gladys at your homestead. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that Y has told Gladys. Like, Y can telepathically communicate with Gladys if he wishes. But at least Polaris and Y are aware of each other.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So as you're heading through, getting to the point where stopping, you have, like, the company you have is not particularly large. It's not like you're on your way, not for purposes of war, but more for negotiation. So as you're heading that way, you notice you're not too far from the place where another Vacha lives. So I don't know if what the two of your relationship would be like, if you think she might stop there.
Let's see. This is Y and Polaris that are. Sorry, the layers here are still hard for me to get through.
Take a moment. So yeah, but basically just imagine, like, Gladys, like the Gladys is home, and she has Y, is being approached by Achilles, who is wielding Polaris. Do the two of you greet? You greet each other as your wielders come within a distance of each other?
All right.
I see they're both knights then, correct? Gladys is lesser nobility, and Achilles is a knight. Okay, cool. And he is coming. So he's coming to where Gladys is.
They're close by, and it's getting close to a point where your company would probably like to soon find a place to crash for the evening, to set up camp. Though it's always nicer to be able to go into a homestead and sleep someplace that's not a tent.
Okay, so Tyler, how do you feel? I feel like with that orb thing, Polaris would want to get near to Y.
I think so as well.
Okay. So what would you tell Achilles about what's going on?
And did you say that I can communicate, that Y and I can communicate to each other?
Yep. Vacha can always communicate with each other, and you can always communicate with your wielder.
Okay. Y, it has been a very long time since we've encountered each other. It would seem you have found another since last we were together.
She has a home. She'll understand, though.
Well, I found that mine is a most adventurous sort. Perhaps I can suggest he come and meet yours. Perhaps she would be willing to travel with us. We have great sights to see.
I have such sights to show you.
Where is yours going?
On your way, you're on your way to a star, whether you tell him that or not. But you're on your way to a star to speak with Roloff. Roloff's generals.
All right. That's my role of generals against Kitterin. Okay. We go to battle. Why?
Battle, I don't care. But where?
Is Kelrus the... No, that's the person.
Keterin is the country that the Nurid Isles have been fighting with.
Okay. Keterin.
I don't know that one.
It's far to the north.
That's good.
There will almost certainly be opportunities, battles, and sights to see, and anywhere has to be better than just sitting, wouldn't it? Why?
Fine. Come, I'll get her ready.
Very good. I believe that Sir Aeschylus will be excited to find the Lady Gladys, and I will speak to Aeschylus of there is a noble lady in this area. I think she might be helpful to us.
Oh, you think she might be helpful? Like that graveyard that we went into, and there was holes down into other worlds, and ghosts and zombies and ancient spirits. That sort of helpful?
We managed to achieve great things there, Aeschylus.
Keep bitching about it, I guess, maybe.
What did I achieve? I was quarantined after coming back for several months. That was unpleasant. I got this strange tingling infection that still won't go away in my left arm, and I can sometimes see my bones through my hand.
And tell me that's not interesting. You never knew what you had in there until then.
Granted, but some things I'm not entirely sure if they're worth the price of admission.
I will tell you, this noble woman is interesting. She has such amazing mysteries. I think that you will find her quite unusual.
Oh, she has not like anything. Mysteries.
Not like anyone you've met before.
They're also mysterious. I can't tell you about them because of the mystery.
It would hardly be fair, now would it?
That does seem to be your constant line.
It's worked so far.
I just got to look at the picture of Polaris, which is comforting in the extreme. You think he's wearing it all the time?
Of course.
Obviously. What does she have to offer to our campaign? I want to march here. I'm not just lazing about the countryside.
To rally the nobles behind your cause will be of great benefit. Sometimes you keep a very short-sighted view, my dear friend.
Nobles are one thing that I can take or leave, mostly leave. But they're armsmen. We could use extra hands, extra swords.
Of course. You're very wise.
Yes, you say that a lot, too.
I hope it will work.
Does Violet Gladys know anything?
No. Why just waits until Gladys is, out of the house or out of sight, begins eating the foundation of her house.
Are you working like basically crumbling the homestead she's at?
Yeah. I think she is far too attached to things that are obviously making her sad, and travel lifts everybody's spirits. She really just needs that kick in the pants. Skirt, whatever.
All All right, so Atchilus, do you stop by the homestead? Okay, Gladys. One of your small folk kind of rushes in. Says there's essentially a group of soldiers, not a large one, but a contingent of soldiers that are marching on, like towards your home. Because Milady, they've, as far as we can tell, they've not pillaged or done any damage, but they've gone through a few of the villages. They are on their way here, we believe.
By honor's sake, we should offer them a place to sleep if they seem honorable. I will speak with them and ascertain their merit. Prepare rooms in case this is needed, please.
Okay. He goes up to I will say why as well. You don't use your powers yourself. They have to be used by a wielder.
Oh.
So on those, it goes through your wielder when you do something. However, like tricking them into doing things is not always difficult. You just have to tell them everything it does. Like the goddess was created because he didn't tell them that he had something that could have brought someone back from the dead. Or, no, I'm going to give you this one that you have to sacrifice yourself and you can't come back, but you can stop this curse. And the player's like, what about this other power? He goes, I'm not telling you about the other power. Because yeah, they only know what you tell them as far as what abilities you have.
And this is the part where I'm a little unclear. Mm-hmm. Do we have all 10 powers? Like we can grant any of the powers within our domain?
Everything in your domain you have the ability to grant. Now, if you grant them too much power, they have complete control over you. And they're basically, anytime they want to assert their will over you, if you give them too much, it can either go from being you have complete control over them to it's a struggle to they can make you do anything they want. At which point you might do is what happened is ask another Vacha to come and kill your wielder so that you can be free. So that the danger of giving them too much power is always the thing. Yeah, you have everything available to you. All right, so Atos, as you're sort of heading this way, it sounds like Gladys, you are prepared. Rooms were made ready. I don't know if you go out to meet them or if you send people.
Well, I am a bit guarded, but still lonely, so I would meet them. But not come all the way out to meet them. I could retreat, but yes, I would meet him as honor would be most appropriate. So that's what I'll do.
All right. So that's as you're approaching. Gladys probably comes out of her homestead as you and your band are approaching. How many knights would you have with you, or other folk?
I don't know. Is this like an actual war that's going on that I'm a part of, or is this like a movement I'm starting up?
No, the war is distant. Like you are, if you look at the map, you're here. You're in here. The war itself is like way over here. You're going towards a star, which is over there.
I'm sorry, could you do the starting place again?
Okay, so you are in Fade.
Gotcha.
Just here. You're heading to a star to talk to some of the generals to get help, and the war is across the ocean with Nurid Isles and Kettering, which are over here.
Gotcha.
So primarily because Kettering has a large population of Dara worshippers, and that is something that Roloff's armies want to demolish any remnant of Daranism.
So it's kind of a holy war.
Yeah, and you're pretty far afield. Like it's a diplomatic group that's being sent to negotiate to try to bring some of the generals over.
Okay.
I don't know, 30 people?
Okay. I'll just make a note. Which the homestead would, it could associate 30 people it could fit. Not like terribly comfortably. It's not that big of a place, but like there's places for them to sleep and stay that's better than pitching a tent.
Do we imagine that these two wielders know each other?
Probably not. There's no reason they would have met each other before, because he's from another entire country on the opposite continent, and you're a minor noble in Fade. So the wielders know each other, the Vacha know each other. The wielders do not.
Okay, cool. So in general play, do we role play out a whole scene between the two wielders, or do we just go with general intentions and briskly move along so the Vacha can do their
Either or. Sometimes the wielder stuff will kind of pop into. It goes from the personal to the epic pretty easily, because basically like the Vacha level tends to be much higher, dealing with a lot bigger stuff. With the personal, sometimes you decide, oh, this personal thing's interesting, so we're going to deal with it for a bit. Sometimes it pops out. So that's up to the two of you.
So I imagine that Gladys is in her 30s. She was once attractive, but now she doesn't travel as much as Y would like. So perhaps she's a little dowdy from her time of trying to stay home and resist the call of travel and adventure. She's still a fair woman, and she'll come out and wait for Achilles to approach.
I think if Achilles is moving towards that like godhood quality sort of thing, he's probably got a life behind him. So I think he's probably like early to mid 40s, but been doing military campaigning for most of his life. So very strong fit, lots of fancy armor, big white horse.
Sir, it appears that you have come from quite a far land. I don't recognize all of your equipment, the like.
We come from the Nurd Isles to the northwest. I know directions. We're traveling, my fair lady. We're seeking assistance. We're trying to repel rapacious invaders from our borders.
That sounds very important. Why, if you have raiders at your borders, you come all the way to Fade for aid?
We're traveling. Actually, we travel to a star for advice and aid from the military masters there.
I see. Your steeds and your men all seem dusty from travel. It is my honor to offer you a place to stay for the night if you will peace bond your weapons and give me your word that no harm will come to my retinue.
Thank you, my lady. Of course. We this land is a bit not what we're used to. It's been a challenge to readjust to travel through your, I'm sure, endearing land.
Yes. Well, I'm sure that perhaps sleeping on the road has not been as pleasant as it might be on the Nurd Isle. And so we will offer you beds. Your men, you have a great number of them. You must have taken several ships. I am sorry, but some may have to stay in the stables.
Stables is better than just an open field, trust me.
Well, come. I've already asked my my certain servants to begin preparing meals. So if your people wish to come in, I offer what services we can for you, everyone.
Thank you. I can't tell you what this means to us. It's been far too long just tromping across your lovely country.
I couldn't imagine how different it must be. But come in, and then she's going to wait to see if you take her arm or if there's some kind of Nurid custom.
friendly pat on the hiney or something.
That's how we do it in my country. I don't
This is
know
how
if
we say
that's
goodbye.
true. Just trust me.
Yeah, Wise like he's lying.
I think he'll be concerned and take your arm and help you over this treacherously wet and yielding ground, which obviously no sane person could traverse normally.
As you enter her homestead, it's kind of a chateau. I imagine that it would be relatively easily defended. A great deal of stone here. It was originally built, and then that sank down into they built one on top of it. No, I'm joking. No, it's a nice.
We built the third one.
That one stayed up, and that's what you're inheriting. Okay, damn it, I did it. I'm the one who did the Monty Python reference. Okay, you come in, and she says, "I have a poetry book from the Nurid Isle. It is the only memento that I have. I've never been across the ocean."
Oh, what book do you have?
Ah, yes, I have the poems of Lisa.
Oh, yes, Lisa. You enjoy the poems of Lisa?
Well, I find them quite comforting.
Oh yes, they're a deep comfort and a long cultural tradition in the Nurid Isles.
Damn, you're smooth.
Aeschylus, she seems so very lonely here. Perhaps you should ask her if she would like to journey with us. Surely that would give her something exciting to do, and you could use the company.
Do you have somewhere I could get freshened up and maybe knock some of the mud off before I start making large demands and life-changing questions of you?
Sure.
At that point, we are going to cut across the narrow sea to a star. Stefan. Stefan or Stefan?
I don't know. It's up to Tyler.
I like Stefan.
Stefan. All right. You're a blacksmith. You have been hired on to. It's Garcia Miguez, who's one of the Rolos generals, who's come through, has kind of hired you. They've been staying in this town and kind of basing their forays out of here. Who is someone here in the town that you care about?
I imagine that there is a barmaid who is always very kind to me, and even though I probably have a habit of crying into my beer, she makes sure it's always full, sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's been you spent kind of a good day swinging the hammer. One of the nice things is it does put you in better shape than a lot of the men in this area, particularly your right arm or left arm, whichever armed you are. And you're sort of having a drink. What is her name, or do you want me to come up with one?
Let's. How about Bella?
Bella, okay. I always have a handy-dandy name generator on my iPad ready to go.
They're so good, useful. I'm terrible with names.
Oh, they just like, boom, that's the name. We're good. Bella sort of comes up and is like, why are you always looking down in your cups?
I have lost so much over the years. It seems like now there's hardly anything except for the fire of vengeance in my heart to keep me going. Sometimes I wish for something softer, perhaps, to warm my heart. I'll look up at her with a sort of yearning look.
She sort of has a look on you that, like, you don't know if she might be into you, but like the sadness is not helping. Like some people do the brooding super well. The thing is, but she's the one. She kind of reaches out an arm and sort of pats it, and she's like, "You okay for another one, or are you sort of done for the night?"
I think I could take another.
Okay. And she goes back and she's kind of pouring you something, and you start to hear screams from outside.
Yes, Gosler.
A woman will never love someone they pity.
Perhaps you're right.
Of course I'm right. I'm millennia old. I've seen your kind. What they need is love. This woman, I could give her to you. Did you hear that screaming?
I did. We should probably see what it is. Perhaps I could impress her.
Yes, perhaps. Perhaps that might win her heart a lot better than crying into your cups, you little child.
Why are you so mean to me?
This isn't helping. My gauntlet's being mean to me. I'm sorry.
I'll stand up and Bella, stay here. It sounds like trouble.
And you're like, my God! And as you kind of go to the door, you see something that will never in your life leave you. There is kind of floating, like you look down the street, you see some flames on the roofs of some of the houses, and there is floating down the street what looks like a 7-year-old child, essentially wreathed in some sort of like a dark cloud or something.
Bless you.
That was weird. Okay, thank you. As it's sort of coming through, and you see like there's a woman with her baby in her hand, and there's some of the dead on the street. You're sitting behind it are children, and as someone comes through like a pitchfork and it's going straight through it, and it kind of reaches out a hand. And there's just this light starts coming, like it originates in the house next to it, bursts through the window, and inside you can hear like a child calling out as this light is being sucked into the creature. One of the things, Gosla, you're going to kind of recognize immediately. This is a manifestation of Fetra, the goddess of fate. Fetra is on a tear to, like, what she wants to do is essentially destroy or neutralize the Vacha.
Oh,
and you recognize sort of her magics in this.
Well, good. Now we can put aside your petty little desires to do something worthwhile.
I agree, Gosla, as I reach down and grab my hammer out. How dare they come to my town like this?
Nice. Sweet. Let's see. I'm looking at the domain of.
I'm not so sad when I'm violent.
I know, this is good.
It's very hard to be. Someone's like, it's really hard to like be sad when you're like holding a puppy and you're like, you ever smashed the head of an infidel? Same thing.
I guess I'll kill you all now or whatever. It's all pointless, I guess.
I wouldn't do this if I just had such a bad day. Sorry.
So, when we do pass powers to our wielders, like how much control do we have over what they do with them, or when they implement them, or stuff like that?
Okay, so at any point, if a Vacha wants to take control of the wielder and force him to do something, they're allowed to say, I want you to do this. If the wielder's cool with it, then you just kind of do it. If you want to fight it, then it comes down to a control roll.
And the more that you've given, the higher chance they have of retaining control from the Vacha.
Yeah, or to the point where it's very hard for the Vacha to actually exert control. Now even if the Vacha has like given up all control, they can still trick the wielder into doing things. It just means you can't force them.
And just to clarify something, you'd said that we could have given something already. Had
Yeah,
we
if you
wanted to. I
decided
don't
it
think
might
any
make
of us
sense
did.
in the past, I've given you maybe this thing.
And once we give it, it never comes back. We've given it for good
They have the ability to use whatever it is.
whenever they wish.
They have a power word for that
Mhm.
dealie. So he's got
Gotcha.
protection from power.
I
I'll
got you.
just declare the protection from power that Stefan has that at all times. He can make a contested powers roll whenever someone uses a power domain on us.
Okay.
Which,
And
in that case, that's specifically against another Vacha. That's one of those things where the contested powers roll. There's one that's very. I think it's like Victorian Vacha versus Vacha. But we'll also use that for god powers. We'll consider them in the same sort of thing. So if it's the power of a god or a Vacha.
okay.
Yeah.
And just to go ahead and say, I think I've given the aura of truth from my light domain to Aeschylus.
Okay.
What'd you give me? What'd you give me? Come on, Samsonite. What do I have?
I think I've given you so far the lesser glamour from the creation domain, where you can pull out small temporary things from the chest. And I have another one in mind for you soon, but we'll get back to that.
Hey.
You're also always able to get me first on the conveyor belt.
I like that power.
And Tyler, what did you say from Light?
I gave you the Eyes of Truth, Aura of Truth. Let me see.
Aura of Hope?
No, the Aura of Truth, number 8. You see anyone invisible, and no one can lie to you, even by omission. Lasts for 1 hour until you dismiss it, whichever comes first.
Can you selectively, like, I'm going to give you power 8, but not 1 through 7?
Yeah, you if you want to drop a 10 on someone, you can. If you want to give them a 5, like you don't have to start at the bottom and work your way up.
Oh, neat.
So yeah, if right now it's like, okay, I need you to, what was it? I need you to be able to level an entire city. Here's, I think it was like Destruction 8 or something, whatever it was. Like, I'm going to give you the power to do that. Like, I want to the power to teleport wherever you want, which was like 6.
So just to double check this here, Achilles got an 8th level power from Light. So I put in boxes, and that fills it halfway through the 4 row. So
you have 4 dice if against 6 if they want to make
Gotcha.
a contest.
Cool.
Damn. No one can lie to you. Yeah, anytime you ain't gonna lie. Do you think I'm cute? No. Well, I want to turn it off now. All right, so yeah, as it's coming through, it's drawing out something from someone inside.
All right. I mean, I've got my hammer out. It's in my gauntlet hand. I like the idea of you on my right hand so that I wield.
That's right.
And
Sweet.
I suppose we're going to rush forward and back, you horrible fiend. This town is not for you. Leave those children alone.
Okay, so this will be fairly easy right now because it's just a one-on-one as the thing is coming towards it. So we can actually do this pretty quickly because it'll just be me against you and you against me. So what you can do is I'll basically go. You can choose to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of damage to it. You don't know, and you don't know how much it would take to maybe destroy it. You have the power for it, so I was like, even if it's magic, you can affect it.
Okay.
Because like you're using like with the gauntlet in hand. So if you look up at the top. And this is kind of how contested stuff works, combat in particular. There's easy, you can do one wound automatically. 2 wounds, 3. Like if you want to do 5 wounds, you'd have to have 25.
Mm-hmm.
So you think you got 2d6. You definitely have the equipment. We'll say the hammer, and I think actually the gauntlet would work here as well.
Okay.
Does it fit one of your personality traits?
Violent.
Violent.
Yeah.
Does it fit your background?
Hammer
with a
She's a
blacksmith.
knight.
Yeah, I'm a blacksmith.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. So that's that. It doesn't. Your destiny is the Bandit Kings.
Right. So that
Yeah.
would
So
be
that doesn't fit. So you got 6 dice you're rolling. 66.
okay.
So what you do is, and the way this works is, it starts off. I'll go. All right. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, and what you and I will do, if we hold up, like facing out, like say 4, I'd be trying to do 4 points of damage to you.
Okay.
If I kind of put here, I'm trying to defend against 4.
Okay.
And so I would make a roll to defend against that many. If you want to do like a magic power, you can just like that if you're using some magic, or if you're getting it. Then at one point, so I'll do that, and then like say we each have like, we're trying to do 3 points. And then I'll say, okay, now we can reconsider 1, 2, 3, and if you want, you can go. Okay, I'm going to try to. You take away 1 if you want to then defend instead.
Okay.
So if it looks like and all wielders have 3 health, like 3 wounds.
Okay.
So yeah, basically, if you're like, oh, I might not be able to take that, maybe I should defend instead. They would make a roll. If they succeed, they do that amount of damage. If not, they don't. And then you make a roll to see if you can defend against that much. And you can always, a 1 doesn't require any roll.
Gotcha. And you're going to have to roll against me just the same as I'm rolling against you to get successes.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
All right. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. So now we can reconsider if we want. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So both just a straight up attack. Okay. So as you rush forward, go ahead and make your roll. So with 4, you're trying to get at least an 18, but you've got what, 6 dice?
Okay. And D6s, right?
Yep. No.
Roll.
All right. So as you're just rushing forward with a hammer.
Ugh. Mm-hmm.
So it hasn't quite necessarily noticed the Vacha yet. As it's coming, it kind of turns to you, and it's very odd to look into. Like the 7-year-old is like, you can kind of see through this child, and it goes and it lets out a scream, and you go off of your feet and then into like the side of one of the buildings nearby, and you'll take 1 wound.
Okay.
In that case, and it's as it turns, like there's another, like a child runs out of the house around, like near it. It just goes and reaches towards it, and the light, you see the light kind of being sucked out of the kid as it falls to the ground and starts to shake.
Ooh.
What do you do? And remember, this is one where your gauntlet is also able to either give advice or go, here's the thing, or do whatever.
Also, that didn't go very well.
It went fine, don't worry. I tell you, you will not die today. I'm going to give him a power of I don't die today, which is from the 4th level of power. You get an extra wound before you die. The power is always active.
Ooh.
Feel my strength flowing through you. Destroy that creature.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. And I will get back up feeling like, surely with this power behind me, I can't possibly fail.
I can't possibly roll 2 2s and 3 1s on this one.
Again.
Now remember, aim for them with the hammer.
It's not even looking at you at this point. It's just kind of pulling in the life from this kid.
Then I will definitely run forward and try and smack it upon it.
All right. So I'm going to say it's using magic, but it's using magic on the kid, not on you. So 1, 2, 3. All right.
All right. Let's try this again. How'd that go?
19. That is enough for 4. So as you strike it, it's kind of weirdly solid. And it was kind of pulled. You see it break as the life kind of snapped. That was some of it taking snaps back across into the child, who hits it and just falls onto the street. And it kind of and then it turns on you, and you see that like it's starting to, like, energy is building kind of around its eyes, which are almost gleaming with powers, and it actually starts to grow a little bit, and you can see just like some almost some talons kind of pulling out, and it screams pretty loud. And what are you doing? It's gonna rush. It's gonna rush you.
Well, Gazala, should I continue fighting it?
Of course, you should continue fighting it. You're doing quite well.
Very well.
Continue.
As it's coming forward, I will draw back the hammer and try and smack straight towards its jaw as it's coming in to smack at me.
Oh yeah. And
I am going to help by going to give him from the domain of power the ability to cause an injury. So you now have a level 6, which is injure. You can inflict 1 wound on someone in sight. You can use this power and defend. Oh wait, hold on. That doesn't make as much sense. So injure is wound someone in sight, but you can't attack. Oh, you can only use the power and defend. Let me pull that back. Sorry. I'm reading it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Does this woman seem like her heart is beating?
No, there's actually like what you can sort of tell. It seems it's mostly spiritual.
Okay, sorry.
Like the child is mostly spiritual. Like if you think it more for the fact that he was wielding you right now along with it, he probably couldn't actually strike you.
And on the break power, you break something that's an inanimate object.
Something is inanimate.
Okay. Sorry, just checking over stuff. Oh wow.
And also, Stefan gains with the other power, however many that was, you gain that many checks in the control boxes.
Yeah, I was gonna. Rich, you had given me the first power you gave me was a 1, I believe.
Yes, that was protection from power.
Okay, and then
I gave you a power 4 on I Don't Die Today.
Okay, and I'm just going to write this here in my little book, and I'll go back after this is done if I survive and fill in my chart.
Okay.
Not die today. Because I kind of want to know a little bit about filling in the thing. Okay. All right, then. So I suppose I'm swinging.
I'll give you unholy strength then. Could you just hit harder this time?
I'm trying.
All that work at the forge, and you're still too weak to take down this creature. Hit harder. And that is a level 5. You gain 2d6 to an attack roll.
You need to roll 8 dice.
Nice. Okay. So that gives me 7 dice. No, 8 dice.
8 dice.
All right. Okay. So I'm coming in to try and hit.
All right. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. As you start to build the power, it can now reconsider. 1, 2, 3. It's going to try to defend. However, it's still only be defending 2, which will not be enough. Make a roll to see if you are able to smack the shit out of it, which even at what you said 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're looking for a 25. You get less, that means you sort of went for broke and missed.
38.
As there's a moment where it sort of gives and you just and then slam that thing into the ground. It almost shakes the earth around you. And there's a moment where it kind of like this. And it's quiet for a second. You hear hoofs galloping. You sort of look up, and there's a bunch of like the townfolk are staring at you. The mother's like gone to cradle the kid who's fallen into the road, but who's alive. And you see a couple of the soldiers rushing up and like stopping, like wide-eyed.
Thank you, Gasala. I have stopped this creature. we should probably help the injured.
Yes. Don't forget about Bella.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. I'll
One
look
of the
back to see
soldiers-
if she was watching.
Yeah, you look back. She's definitely at the door. Like a lot of people are watching. One of the soldiers rides up. You killed it. Our swords and arrows in the next village just went through the one that appeared there. It killed every child there.
How terrible! It took courage. Yes, that's what it took. Courage. And of course, the might of Gasara.
That's if you do let them know, like the Vacha are kind of known and highly, like people are very nervous about them if they're aware. There's also other magics and such. Do you let them know that you have a Vacha with you?
I won't say directly that's what it is, but I will hold up my gauntlet with its hammer in my hand.
Okay. There's some other they sort of look at you and you hear kind of the cries of the bereaved, as well as the family whose child you saved. They have another one that's dead in their home, but they've got their oldest is alive, weak but living. Ricardo, the soldiers, I believe the general will want to speak with you. Let's ride through. We're going to see the rest of the damage and see what's happened. Would you come with us to see if there's others of these in other villages?
Of course. Yes, of course.
Stefan,
Look over at Bella and smile.
Turns and cries, "A horse! A horse!"
A moment, Stefan. Speak with the dead child. I want to understand.
Of course. I'll move over to one of the dead children, and I'll have that look of such a terrible shame, poor child, and I will pat him with my gauntlet in hand.
Nice. I'm going to give my wonderful wielder the ability to speak with the dead. It's level 2 necromantic power.
Okay.
You speak with corpses and ghosts. Ask the child about Fetra.
The great thing is the child there is 2, very small, but you speak with it.
Yeah, and this is the one that was inhabited by the spirit?
No, that was like when you destroyed that just exploded. Like there was,
Okay.
like the spirit is gone. However, there are dead children.
Okay.
And some wounded adults. Yeah, one of the children, like almost like a 2-year-old kind of. I'm with her now. It's dark. It's dark. She's coming.
Oh.
Vacha. This is the goddess Fetra, which you may not be aware of, but your Vacha is.
Fetra, what is your plan? Why are you attacking these pissant villages?
I'm taking back the children due to me, that your kind took. The raising of the innocent was supposed to change the world. You took fate into your hands, breaker of chains, changer of fate.
I like those. I will keep those titles. Thank you.
Keep them.
We're going to destroy you, Fetra. You really don't understand fate.
Cannot destroy it, God. You may be powerful, but you are beneath us.
Well, I believe that we've defeated you today with all of your godly powers above us, so I call into question your grandiose statement. Don't worry, Fetra. Don't worry. We'll come for you soon.
Gosling, did you just threaten a goddess?
She threatened us first.
Oh, I see.
Just pretend she didn't start this.
You don't understand, see. You see now, maybe Sigaba need to team up with us again. Must destroy it, though. But we should worry about this threat. And then I destroy her after that. But we would team up.
You always give the best advice. I trust you implicitly. I know you wouldn't lead me wrong.
Of course not. You are such a good wielder, Stefan.
And Achilles. I don't know if your soldier interrupts poetry reading or not, but you have one of your sort of lieutenants, one who's has a bit of a superstitious bent to him. Looks fairly worried and is coming and waiting upon you. Do you want this to be while you're with Gladys, or?
Maybe while I'm getting myself like cleaned up and prepared for, a dinner after the road.
Okay. So it's Nicholas comes up. Make a note here. Achilles. It's cussed the runes a number of times, and there's something in the air here tonight. Feels like there's something coming.
I mean, we've been on the road for a while, but she's not that pretty.
That's not what I'm talking about. Get where you can. Like, I'm the last person who's going to complain to someone who's, any port in a storm, but no, it's you know me. I've cussed the rooms where we've gone. There's divinations that are part of my people, and they've never exact, but the exact same pattern comes up every time. It's a pattern for death.
Oh, then we'll have an interesting evening here then.
I'd like to request a doubling of the guard just in case. The men are going to hate it, but I figure we can blame it on Jeff. I think
Yes.
Jeffrey is one of your basically like another higher up who he's a stickler for not letting down their guard. He's the one who decides, nope, need to do another round of drills. he keeps them in good shape, but he's a little paranoid.
Most useful crazy sergeant I've ever had. Yeah. Tell Jeff to keep them going.
I'm pretty sure I can even make it his decision. Well, with that, because something will happen here in a moment, let's see. I'll take a real quick bio break as well.
All right.
And then we'll come back to you two there. Give me just a minute.
there's a lot going on in this game. This is it's very interesting.
It's also more than a little confusing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a. I wish I'd had a chance to think more. I feel like I'm on my heels coming in. I'm really glad I got to play.
It did not help thinking more. I was curious though, Rich. I may have just missed it earlier, but why is Gladys lonely and guarded?
She was married, and then her husband died.
Perfect.
Yeah, that man, he died on a foreign soil. By the way, I'm not setting her up counterpost to you. She's at the very beginning of her journey. Now, you have given her a power. Now, how do I want to make sure I mark that out correctly?
Let's see. I gave you... No, not destruction. Creation 2. Lesser glamour. Okay. You create someone or something small and false. It lasts until you dismiss it and is treated as real until someone or something physically interacts with it.
Okay, she has 1 and 2 because she starts with a 1 and now has the level 2 power you gave. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
No, didn't give level 1.
Oh, it's already marked.
No, if it's a 2-point power, you fill in the 1 next to the 1 and then the 1 next to 2. So you filled in 2 boxes. So you haven't filled out correctly. So it gave you a level 2 power, so that's 2 points of control that you get.
Oh, I see. So when I gave a level 4 power, you don't put an X by the 4.
You put in
you
4
right.
X's to fill in.
Correct. Yeah. So if someone were to give you a level 10 power to start off with, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like you'd fill like the level 10 power. If it's the first thing they get, it'd fill up the top of 4. So like a level 1 power after that would put them up to 5 dice. Would put you on even footing with the Vacha.
I see.
But if we're talking about Gladys here, what I would like to give her is now level 3 insight. Learn from the past, as it lets you see events in the past, and I might have to push her if this doesn't come up by itself, but I'd like her to look around and see like nothing but the ghosts of past happiness and future sadness here. Like, oh, the bright happy times with what's his name? Who even pays attention to that sort of thing? But how wonderful it was and isn't now. It's so sad here. It's awful here. You should be anywhere else but here.
That's pretty great.
So that's 3 more X's to your control pyramid there.
Yep. She's almost got 3 dice now. Now that makes a lot more sense. And it looks like, oh, cheese and crackers. You have 5 dice now, Stefan, right?
Yeah, I think so.
What's great is like the cyborg ones and like the sentient frame, like even the Ungenesis ones work backwards, where the wielder starts off with all the power, but the more power they take, kind of like a Dr. Faustus deal, the more power the Vacha gets. So they kind of like keep like just like, oh well, you can save yourself if you do this. It makes it really interesting, like selling your soul to something.
That is neat. But yeah, we'll start with just making things unbearably sad around here, and if I have to upgrade to tricking you into destroying your own home, we'll get there.
But my homestead's so nice. I love my little chateau.
Yep, that is the problem.
Why did you do that to my home? Okay, sorry. I think that Gladys may have to retire a little bit early. All these sad memories. She makes sure that Achilles is well cared for. He was kind of a dick, so
It's been a long time on the road.
she was certainly not charmed by the man.
Do you have any
Yeah.
children?
Hmm?
Does she have any children?
Oh, great question. Yes, she has a daughter.
How old?
Well, she's in her 30s. Her daughter is probably, say, 13, 14.
Okay. All right. We'll say 14. Will be important. Okay.
Good marrying age.
Also, above the age where all of the children were supposed to be killed, so that's not what Fetra is going after, by a year. So,
Ooh, you sure you don't want to put her at risk? Because that could be pretty cool.
there's some interesting things if she's not at risk, but there's lots of other children in your sort of homestead. So, Achilles, are you doing it like they set up the double watch? You hear some of them complain. Like, you hear Nicholas like, I didn't think it needed to be necessary, but Jeffrey was very insistent that we have more people out there.
You know,
Just in case.
Jeff makes a lot of really intense calls, out here in the field, but you just got to remember he's kept us safe thus far. So I think in this case, I'm going to take Jeff's explicitly offered advice that he came up with and double watches.
You hear Jeff in the next hall. Like I told you, you've all gotten weak and soft on the road for this long. You're gonna come here, sit in this hall, and pretend everything's okay. That's how soldiers die.
You've all been on the road, getting weak and soft, and now you're in this building, getting weaker and softer. Everything makes you weak and soft.
And Nicholas just kind of looks at you and is like, very easy to convince Jeffrey that's what needs to be done.
As darkness falls, I think that Polaris will. Aeschylus, we need to be on guard as best we can here. Something is very dangerous, and I'm going to grant you the ability to see in the dark.
We have 30 armed men and stone walls. What could be that dangerous out here in the middle of this swampy, marshy field? This place is terrible.
If it was wonderful, then there would be lots of people now, wouldn't there, Aeschylus? And we would be much safer. Instead, we're out here in the sticks where terrible things often happen. You should listen to me more.
I feel like I do nothing but listen to you.
You may listen, but you do not hear.
Would that were true, Polaris. Dreams of the future, I guess.
And then in the little village outside of Gladys's homestead, you start to hear some screams. Then kill it! Kill it! Kill it!
As I might have been saying, Aeschylus. By the way, that's a 1 point power.
All right. Was that darkness or light or what is that?
Darkness 1 allows you to see in the dark as long as you want to see in the dark.
Nice. Fine. Let us go see what's happening to the poor swampy village people.
Yeah, Gladys, you're woken by a servant, or I don't know if you're sleeping or not at this point. There's something happening in the village.
Oh, well, how fortunate that there are soldiers here who could go and check that out. I will go and find our guest Achilles.
Fun. Sounds fun. Go play. Sounds fun.
Play? But no, they're soldiers. They can take care of this.
You could take care of this. We could take care of this.
I can show them an image that makes... I don't understand how I could possibly do that.
You, no, that's why I said you. No, you're nothing. We.
I'm nothing?
Well, you have a home that you go on and on and on and on and on about. There are things attacking your home. Are you just going to let them attack your home? It's your home.
Point of fact, it's the village. There are 30 soldiers here. I think that we're rather safe.
Then you hear the sound of nails on stone coming from the window.
Ooh. I'll go to the window. What is going on?
And then a hand that's partially burnt kind of comes over and digs in. And another one. And you see the woman that starts to pulls herself up. You actually recognize as a priestess of Dara from the village, but like the throat has been slashed like at a wicked evil, and the head actually hangs back. You can kind of see just the whole of the esophagus kind of there.
He's dead.
And I'll say this: why?
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of feel that this is like Fetra is animating this dead priestess, and again, Fetra is got a thing against the Vacha, and she kind of step back from it if you want to live, or die with your precious creature. And she started pulling herself up and climbed up a pretty long distance to be up at your window. It's a sheer brick.
Why? Why? I'm going. I'm leaving. I'm leaving my room.
You point and you want. Point and want.
I want her to go away. I want her to go away. Why?
We'll go ahead and open up mayhem there. Why not? Let's have some fun.
Okay.
It's a level 9 destruction.
Holy crap.
You inflict a total of 4 wounds on up to 4 someones in sight. There's just the one someone, though.
Here's a bazooka. Yeah, so yeah, as the power comes into you, and as she's kind of pulling herself up, and it just, the body snaps in ways that are like, I don't know if you're particularly comfortable with the sound of grinding bone, but and it just falls out of the window. And if you happen to go and check, you're going to see her hit the ground and still like
run
twitching
forward and look
a little bit.
Why you can do this?
No, silly woman, we.
Oh. She points at it because it's twitching. She points at it again.
And you may, win a couple turns, may have a view of what's happening. This is Achilles. So, what are you doing as you hear the screams coming from outside?
I'm grabbing my weapon and let's see, I'd managed to clean up, so I can probably strap on a breastplate while I'm running, so at least part of my armor. And I'm gonna go by, snap some orders at Jeff and the people that are complaining to him to grab up things and follow me and go running towards the screaming. That sounds fun.
There's moments Jeff is just like, I told you! You have to be ready. Yeah, you tell Jeff is full of shit again. That's what you said.
This is why we listen to Jeff, boys. Come on.
And Nicholas is just right by you. He's like, told you it didn't look good. And rushes out. You see that there are kind of like what was seen in the other village, though you're unaware of that. You see that there is this child floating in a 2-year-old, kind of floating in this just bubble of darkness. Now you have the ability to see in the dark, right?
Huh, yeah.
So as you see this, you also see something that would be very difficult to see if you weren't able to just see as if it were the daytime. You see soldiers of Roloff going kind of building to building in the distance. Like they're kind of making their way like while the thing is coming kind of up one of the main streets, and again he's just sort of pulling light from one of the houses, and there's screaming happening from inside. There's a group that's sort of heading through the thing, and you see one of them and then throw a thing that starts fires up on some of the thatched roofs.
I think I'll point with my left hand. Jeff, firebugs. I'll take the floating child. I will take the floating child.
Okay. Yeah, the thief goes, wait, where? Oh, get him! And so he takes a group of men and then to rush out that way. Okay, and the floating child is coming down the street. You see some people come up and they've got like they grab like a pitchfork, a scythe, whatever is just there, and it's just going straight through the child as they are rushing to attack, and none of it seeming to help.
Aeschylus, it is not sufficient what these people can do. We will have to show them your greatness. You have to go and show them that you are destined for so much more than this pitiful life you've been leading.
Yeah, I'm gonna inspire the people by killing a child. Let's get on it.
You will be killing far more than a child.
Oh, many children. Wonderful.
Should have read the fine print when you signed up.
You got anything in your vast and unknowable experience that you keep going on about floating, glowing children?
This child has taken control. This child is no longer a child. It is an embodiment of something, well, truly beyond your comprehension, but I understand it fully.
No, lectures are good. They're great. They definitely blow up children. Let's keep going with lectures.
Head forward, draw your sword, destroy this thing, and proclaim yourself greater than these men around you. And I'm going to give you the Sword of Doom.
Can't hear you already fighting.
It's an 8th level death power.
Ooh.
Description. Your weapon kills everyone it hits except anyone who cannot be killed.
All right. I go forward swinging a sword at the glowing floaty child.
Okay,
I mean, nothing personal.
Yeah, to be honest, you would only have to ever hit it with a 1, which is automatic. So the thing is it's not really paying attention. Doesn't necessarily think you're powerful. You just touch it, and it just the explosion. It feels kind of like in our terms, like a massive subwoofer went off. Like you can kind of feel it hit throughout you. Then where it actually like kind of moves your hair if it's long enough to be moved. You get like your clothing and such is affected. It just literally touched it, and all the people around you are just like sort of drop. But then shortly after, you hear like the sounds of some fighting happening. And I would say, Gladys, you actually have a pretty good look as you see in the flames of some of the houses. You see soldiers of Achilles is actually fighting someone else who's been going through and setting the fires, which you can see from your vantage point.
Why should I do the pointy thing again? Where should I point?
What do you want?
I would like for our village to be safe from whatever is attacking them. And it seems that Aeschylus's men are doing their best, but maybe they're not going to win. Are there more of those things?
Many. Fine. Go forward. We will find them. We will deal with this problem.
She briskly walks over and picks up Y and walks out of her room and down the stairs and out into the chill night.
I will say, I think for Y, to use Y, you don't have to lug it. Since it
She
is
still
luggage.
does. Like, she
Okay,
super
yeah.
does. She's talking to the luggage. She's
Oh,
going to
cute.
carry the luggage around.
Can't wait till we invent wheels on luggage. Okay. Yeah, and so, you head sort of down and out.
Mhm.
Okay. Yes, you're rushing through, holding like bringing Y with you. How big is Y, by the way? Or do you want to do the Lord of the Rings thing where you can actually change size?
No, I think he can change size, but not to something like really small. I think we go somewhere between like large briefcase and like huge travel trunk.
Okay, yeah, so, but small to be carried without it being like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, so you're brushing down. It's taking a moment to kind of get out there. Achilles, as you hear the fighting going on, what are you doing?
Oh, sorry. I still do. So there's still more fighting. Yeah, I need to get up on top of something so I can get a good look around. I can see in the dark, so maybe I can see from a roof or vantage point, like where this is coming from.
Okay, you kind of like hop up on something. You get up and you're looking. You're seeing that there's the group that are fighting some of your men that have been starting the fires. Oh no, we lost him.
Oh no!
Bum.
Tyler!
No! Why he's so young?
There we go.
Oops.
Hey. As you kind of pop up, you're seeing your men fighting some of these groups. As they're going, it looks like a relatively small group, which means if it's a small group that came in with the same time as this thing, that can't be an accident. Particularly with them coming through and setting the fires.
Aeschylus, now is the time to declare yourself greater than these mere mortals around you. They've seen the power you wield. Declare yourself the hero you are. Stand above them.
Well,
show them your strength.
I am above them, but still mortal at the moment. It's mostly just because I've climbed up here. It's really an elevation sort of thing.
Your grasp of the breadth of your powers are so limited, Aeschylus.
Yep,
you
can't hear you running into danger.
If a crown could mumble, it's like, ooh, I've got to kill this one. The next one's got to be better.
Did you say something, future candy bowl?
Didn't think you could hear. You're running into danger.
That's okay. I'm going to stop your arm from swinging that sword so you take a battle axe to your neck. Roll dice.
But yes, I'm running up and trying to see what my men are fighting.
Okay. They're fighting soldiers. And what you see is the as you're sort of coming up, and a couple kind of come through, and you just probably feels like just almost like going through butter. You're just like shunk, shunk, like just anything you touch dies if you've decided to kill it. And you're like, this is handy.
This is good. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, annoying ass hat, but that was pretty neat.
If I'm going into battle, I want this every time. It's pretty cool. Yeah, like what you see is Roloff's insignia on these men. These seem to be Roloff's men who you were hoping. I mean, granted, they don't necessarily know you, but you're not quite sure what's going on. There,
Yeah, as I go through them, I just like casually one by one with the sword until we get up to the last one, and I just without the sword, I just punch him right in the face, down to the ground, and I'm towering over him like, "Where is he?"
Where's who?
Guy whose name I've momentarily forgotten.
Roloff?
Yeah, that's the one.
He's in a star.
What are you doing here?
You have the ability to always see a lie, right?
Yep. Even
He
my
goes-
omission.
Yeah, he goes, we were sent here by cultists of Dara to destroy all who come through. He's lying like a motherfucker.
Oh, that's a shame. I think you're really gonna miss that arm chop.
Make him pay.
I'm telling you the truth. Lie, lie, lie.
And it's really, really sad that you decided you didn't need either of your arms.
Just to get the no, stop, 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 stop. He's just trying to hold the bleeding stump of his gun. He's like, we're sent to sacrifice one of the child and have it possessed by one of the children who died during the raising.
Is that true?
To cause yes, 100%. Supposed to sow chaos and let the children be killed.
Well, that is truly and shockingly disgusting. And I'm going to go ahead and like just bat him aside with the sword and kill.
Okay. Gladys, as you come out, you see that there are a small group of soldiers that have been falling behind. You see a bunch of them have actually taken some of the villagers hostage, and you see a couple of the soldiers. There's like 4 or 5 soldiers who are there, and you see, we'll say 4. Four of the soldiers from Roloff who've got some villagers there. Like, stand back, we'll kill them. All you have to do is go back, and they'll live. You see that the soldiers are kind of Atlas' soldiers are sort of hanging back a little bit, but still got swords out.
Barking, whining children. The knife, this point.
Why? What should I do?
You tell them to put it down, and you point at the knife of the leader.
I'm going to ask you nicely to put them down.
I'm afraid I can't make that. Let me know if you actually do something magical. Because it's not going to happen.
I'm going to give you Destruction 4, Ravage, which you break 4 somethings, which is going to be the knife.
Doesn't share any. Oh, the knife. Oh, okay, you're giving the something instead of someone.
Yes, this is breaking some things. But yeah, you know, the knife of the leader, and also those 3 pillars holding up your front porch behind us.
Oh, I don't point at the porch, though.
Yeah, the thing is she decides how it's used. So
I'm trying to trick her into blowing up the porch.
It's important you kill. You can only kill a dagger if you kill a porch. It's a cosmic balance thing. 1 dagger for 3 pillars. It seems weird, but
it's just how the math works out.
There used to be much more pillars and a little more daggers.
If you'd studied architecture like I suggested. No.
No. Does she believe that? Is that up to me to believe?
It's up to you on that one.
I don't think I'm buying
and
that.
I don't know if he actually told you that. He just said.
I'm basically trying to give her what I'm saying is a one-shot thing, and there's actually scattershot going around.
I mean, are you trying to control her for the? I mean,
as I have stated what I intend, I don't know how to achieve that. If there's a way to achieve that, I'd like to.
You can. Do you want to control her to make that happen?
Yes.
Okay, so to control her and to make her break that, and then make the pillars fall and that go down, that becomes a control roll.
Okay.
So with that, you gave her an extra 4, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that puts holy shit. So,
Yeah,
Rich, have you filled in the extra 4?
just now.
Oh, actually, or I'm sorry. Why? You're gonna have some problems. Because you have given her enough powers that she has 6 control dice against your 4. So you roll 46. She'll roll 66. So I will say, one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a game was when Wield. They had 5 and 5, and it was the thing was trying to force this healer to kill some bandits. 3 times in a row, they rolled the exact same number and tied before she won by 1 on the 4th roll.
Wow, that's
Like
intense.
epic battle of wills. Like we actually ended the session with like as she goes unconscious after fighting it, and that was like the end of the 2-shot we ended up being able to do.
Well, that's a wildly average roll.
Oh,
That was not.
Sorry.
yeah. You might. I don't know if you're actually going to know you're being trying to be controlled on that, but we'll kind of we'll say that's going to be more than what's that become a. That's more than hard. So we'll say you're aware that there's a something almost pulling you to breaking those ones, but you're able to stop it and destroy like the dagger, or like you can break 4 somethings. You're able to use that without being controlled by it.
Oh, ignore those other knives. They're unimportant.
I'll break all the knives.
No!
There's a moment where they're just like, and like the moment those things break, there's a second of shock in the soldiers, and then they rush in, kind of pull outside the villagers and just skewer those soldiers.
Wow. Okay. The villagers
Leaving-
skewer the soldiers?
Yeah, the soldiers, Achilles the soldiers skewer the
Oh, okay.
skewer the ones
Raiders.
from Roloff who were holding the
Excellent.
other ones hostage.
That's not what I said.
Thank you, Y, for helping to save these people.
You did it wrong.
Why did you want the pillars to be destroyed? To my home?
Always thought they were ugly. They seem really pretentious. You're not that sort of lady. I think you're more of a down-home, approachable architecture sort of thing.
Well, that was my husband's desire. He really enjoyed a wide open space underneath.
Yes. Think about your husband and look at the pillars. Look at them and see him.
I think
If you want to try to force that, like you got to realize you can make a control roll, but you are likely going to go. You're rolling 60s or 4 dice against 6.
Doesn't stop me from wanting.
You can try to force it if you want.
2 points better than last time.
So, do you want to see the awfulness of the past, or are you fighting against that?
no, I think it's good. She's not fighting it.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll see the awfulness of the past, the sadness, him leaving her alone, the many weeks of being all by herself before she purchased Wyatt off of a tinker
Yes.
wagon.
Just think of all the times what's his name left you on that porch, left you to go out in the world and do
Well, let's give your
things that
husband
you
and
said
your
that he
dead
did.
husband. So if it comes up, it's not what's your Malcolm. Otherwise, it blunts the emotional impact. If it's like, remember your husband? What's his name? Oh, what's his name?
Why is just that kind of
Yeah,
asshole?
I think Y intentionally does not remember anybody but Gladys's name. But I suppose it's good for you to know your dead husband's name or whatever.
I wasn't married to him. I don't gotta know.
I agree. As soon as I can afford it, I'll have those columns removed. Wider windows, more light comes in. Excellent idea.
Your town is still burning down. Don't
Oh,
you care
yes.
about buildings or something?
No, I do. I do. HLS, we need to build a fire brigade.
Okay, 2 things. We're gonna switch the other continent real quick. I do want to double check what for pacing wise. What time are we going to?
Oh gosh, we're actually coming up on 3 hours, and I've got a game in the morning. How much longer do you guys want to go, Tyler and Patrick? like 20, 30? Like stop at
yeah,
11:30?
11:30 sounds good.
It's fine.
Okay. So yeah, about 20, 25 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make this probably. So yeah, so for pacing wise, so we can go back. Patrick, could you do me a favor and also play Ricardo in the scene? Who's the knight? Who's the you're the leader of the group of soldiers. You've come back a little bit early from some patrols. You've had a number of a sickness has kind of gone through your people. They're okay now, but you're making your way back to a star a bit sooner than you were originally supposed to. Essentially, the what you were sent to do, the errand you're sent to do is no longer necessary. We'll say you took care of some bandits and other things, but you were expected back later.
Gotcha.
So you're heading back. You and your people have gone through with Stefan. Stefan, we'll probably say the next village, there's been a lot more death. We'll say you probably do the same thing to one of the other sort of floating children masses there. And shortly after you destroy it, someone steps out. This would be... He's very important. It's Temple. I totally thought about him beforehand. Temple steps out. Temple Herzog. He is higher up on the chain. He's not inner circle of Roloff's people, but he's definitely higher than where you're at, Ricardo. And it's like, stop! What are you doing? You hear cries of villagers and such out there, and you see other soldiers of Roloff kind of coming out from the shadows. Soldier, explain yourself.
We're simply traveling through. We're just trying to get from one place to another. What are you doing out here? What's it screaming? Sounds like a lot of screaming.
We're here under orders from Roloff himself. Stop interfering with the raising and return to your post.
Oh, but this town, it was one of my favorite. The inn here is lovely, and you're just going to burn everything? I don't think I can allow that. That just sounds wrong.
His eyes go real cold. People around, and they get a couple soldiers around him. He's like, I'm sorry, did you just disobey a direct order from one of your superiors?
I'm just saying, have you tried the rice balls? They're amazing.
Kind of looks at his men. Kill him. And you see 4 or 5 of his guys pull swords.
And Stefan's here with him?
You've written into the next town, basically terrified that the same thing has happened, because they saw the same thing happening in other places. As you came in, and you've just killed one of the other sort of floating ghostly children in another one. And yeah, so you're with him, and Ricardo's all about stopping this destruction.
Razola, these do not seem like they are decent soldiers. Would it be possible that their lord is killing our people?
You are so wise to have understood this very plain thing, Stefan. This mystery has unfolded before you, and you understand the truth of it.
Well, thank you. We should stop that.
Oh, well, yes, okay.
Now, boys, this wasn't. I wasn't intending any offense or anything. I was just giving my opinion on what best we should do here. I think everyone should calm down.
Hey, you! This man's trying to save our villages. Why are you stopping him? No, you can't do that. We're here to help people. I have been destroying these terrible spirits.
And you see some of the other villagers that have been out there and see you do this are starting to turn towards the soldiers. And the soldiers sort of looking around. There's you and your group, which is relatively small, but there's only 4 of them there right now. And enough of your group and the villagers where this is now probably Ricardo, you look back and your men are not entirely certain. They're your men, but they've just had a superiors. They're in a really weird place right now. And Herzog or Hempel is did you hear what I said? Kill them.
Oh, Stefan, you know what you need to do.
You will not hurt him. We're going to protect this town. Rah! And I'll charge in to defend it.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, folks, get him!
While the helpful strange idiot has been keeping them distracted, I've just been like step by step moving back away from the armed angry soldiers.
Hear what he said, Grasala? I'm helpful.
You don't need to worry about his compliments. We have a bond.
Back. Here's the thing. Like, you going up against 4 could be a problem. So I don't know if you're getting other abilities, but tell me what you're doing is as you're rushing forward, you got the 4 soldiers got swords out and are starting to spread out a bit so they can try to catch and flank you.
I'm heading towards the nearest one and attempting to smack him in the head is my intention, while I'm yelling for the people of this village, come on, let's get him! Okay, so unless there's other power or something involved, like you got him, and then you've got at least 2 more who can kind of try to do some damage to you. Okay.
And so I'll do like this hand will be what they do, and they'll both do sort of the same thing. This one will be for the one you're going up against directly.
Okay, and I have not healed, I'm guessing. So I still have the 1 damage, but I still have the 1 extra point from my power. And I still have the unholy going on where I get 2d6 extra.
Yep. But the problem is like if you're attacking 1, you're undefended.
Yeah, I'm going to get feared by the others.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess 3, 2, 1. So we've got, he's trying to defend for 3, and the other 2 are going to attack for 2. Okay, so I would say go ahead and make your roll for, we'll roll for the attack defense first.
All right.
I have a 13. Yeah, you cut, like just bash him down with the hammer, because, well, actually, it says 13 will have, I was defending against 2.
Mm-hmm. 3.
3, yes. Oh, no, yes, he failed. No, 3, he did succeed. So you were doing how much?
I was doing 3 as well.
Okay, so as you hit, he actually might kind of catch the thing, and it hits into his armor, but not enough to actually harm him. So now I'm rolling the 2 who are attacking you for 2 points.
And do I get anything to go up against that?
Not on that, unless you're granted a magical ability that lets you do something that also lets you attack. They're trying to do 2 points each. Yeah, so as they come through, that'll be a total of 4.
Oof.
As you're,
I think they kill me.
And then just.
Oh, Stefan. Oh, you were so great. I'm so proud of you. You died with honor.
I'm glad you're proud. Ugh.
So this is a longer game. What I've been doing usually, if a wielder dies, 2 things happen. 1, grab another wielder at random, and then actually switch them. So you might actually be another character. With a 3-person, it just kind of like rotates, so that now the character you're controlling is like someone else would have Gladys. You just got to make sure you don't have your own Vacha. Then usually I'd like pop forward like 75 to 100 years.
Oh, neat.
So you get this like Silmarillion style, like boom, and then kind of hopping forward as it goes, because the wielders are very disposable, but the Vacha's plans are the ones that matter sort of the most. And considering we're just about 15 minutes or so away from where we would sort of end, that sort of seems to be a good, as he rushes in a little too headstrong with that power and gets skewered by a couple of them, bleeding out with the Vacha on a cold arm.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's good. That's a perfect ending point for.
Luckily, Ricardo gets away.
Yes. Yeah, Ricardo's like, hey, man, I was backing up because I was like, cool, that's what y'all wanted to do. Y'all do that.
Yeah, I almost imagined Ricardo kind of putting his arm down and it latching onto him. But yeah, okay.
I was looking for an upgrade. I mean, a new welder.
Cool. I didn't do a debrief in the last little bit, or
Yeah, you
Sounds
guys
cool.
good with that?
Yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, that at a real basic level is sort of how Wield works. In a regular, like a campaign thing, it's more following, like, I don't have to get them together immediately, but it's sort of following some stuff, seeing where the players want to take it, because they have enough power and between the power of them and the fight with the desires of the wielders kind of lets the players control where things are going. But since it's a one-shot, with willing to bring them together, make a couple things happen, and then ask you to take one of the characters, so all three people are involved in that last scene.
It's a it's a neat game.
It's really interesting.
I definitely want to play it again. Michael, I liked the flip flop of wielders, and it took us a bit to get it. Like, just felt super dense during this the startup, the spin up of this game took me forever. Like, it was hard getting it in my head, and then it wasn't and we were an hour and 20 minutes in before I realized, oh wait, when you give me a level 4 power, that's 4 boxes that I use to fill. Like, I don't know why that didn't click.
Yeah, I guess it's one where like the thing with the wielders starts to become, it's super confusing at first. But then it becomes like once you've played them for a moment or two, you're like, okay, this is how that works.
Yeah, it was a little more like it was just harder to switch back and forth when like both my wielder that I was playing and my Vacha were in the same scene. And like you'd ask me a question, I'd be like, oh wait, shit, I'm that person too. Hold on. I don't know. I'm thinking as an angry box at the moment.
I'm interested. You're saying that, like, say, in this case where we had somebody, a wielder go down, and you say you do time jumps from there?
I do time jumps because the idea of a campaign that feels like the Silmarillion or something truly epic. Like I got to start it, but we didn't get to finish it. But it was like even in like six sessions of Wield and like 2 of Microscope, the stuff that happened felt like a Silmarillion style epic. But part of that was by giving those time jumps and the idea that the Vacha's plans can take thousands of years because time is not the same to them. So by having these jumps and having the fact that like the wielders, I use the idea that like the One Ring, the wielders just stop aging at the same rate. So we might go 100 years and still have Gladys alive somewhere, and kind of get like what is her new, and then I get to ask, like, you two decide what is your new situation. And like, well, we've been doing this for a while. This has been this, and then we get to bring them in, and then it can lead to we've had some really interesting and kind of cool things where like a character is able to like a regular person's like, well, I thought this happened like 150 years ago, and you're like, no, this is what actually happened, and because it was last session.
Okay. That's really interesting. So we would have had this enclosed story we had right here with these sort of things happening, and then our next session would be down the road and sort of the machinations we'll do as backstory going forward.
Yeah, and we might have gone back to them a little bit and say, well, where do you think that takes them? And then do the jump, put in the new, because like now you might have Gladys, and so because those ones switch, you add a new personality trait.
So why would we change the humans? That's what I didn't get there.
The game actually has it as part of it. And I think part of it's to help do 2 things. One, it adds every time a new person controls a wielder, you add a new personality trait, which can help with, oh, I'm better at this because this has happened. But it's also there, I think, to really sort of push the idea that the wielders are disposable.
Right, take away ownership.
Yeah, so like it's one of those things like you can own this character, all this stuff, but it's trying to remind you this character should be, the Vacha's the important one.
Gotcha.
The wielder's the one that's come into its life for a short period of time.
Gotcha.
And that's one of those things that could easily be just thrown out. I personally like it because of that aspect of it. But it's also one where if a group's like, I want to stick with this character, that's also super easy to do.
It also sort of gives out, since you're handing out these powers, and it seemed like we were very quickly getting to where the wielder was in more control.
What I've discovered is after that happens, they become more cautious about handing out it's like first like You have powers, and you have powers. Like the next people, it's like, okay, listen, I'm being really specific.
Wielder number 2, we go a lot slower.
And I guess you start maneuvering them to die. I mean, you try and switch out your wielder.
I saw where Stefan was at, and I literally was totally leaving you out to dry, hanging you out to dry.
Right.
You know what powers you got? Use them or don't. I'm fine. I'll be fine.
I've literally had. I don't. Do you even know who Mikey Mason is?
No.
Oh, he does a lot of geek comedy. He's a stand-up comic, but has done some stuff with the Fear the Boot podcast. But his character literally was asking some of the other Vacha to kill his wielder, which is great because it's like if you're playing his wielder, they thought it was hilarious. They're like, yes, absolutely, because he's like, did you give your wielder too much control? He's like, yeah, I really did. So we need to get rid of this guy.
I kind of like that aspect though of making these wielders channel through, really going through a bunch of them, because you want to give them cool stuff, but you don't want them overly in control because that twists the story out of focus.
Yeah, and I do like that idea of like epic on multiple levels, where you have these heroes that, sure, they can have this magic item and have grand, amazing things that they achieve and that they want to get to, but really the real story is when you step back and see like each wielder as a step on the journey that the Vacha is trying to get to somewhere.
And occasionally, like you'll have like a couple sessions of these really much smaller stories because the wielders you have just fit there. So you might have a couple really small things about a particular village or this other thing going on that's not huge and epic, and then it moves on. So like I really dig that switch back and forth.
It's interesting, and I thought the idea of the game was cool, but when I started looking deeper into that companion book and understanding what all those sections were, like all those different setups and worlds are super neat. Like I said, I look forward to digging through that Magical Girl one just to see where it goes and if it'll help me out with what I need in another game. But like that Cyberpunk one looked awesome, and there's the Evangelion one was like, oh my god.
What I love is this is the regular book.
Mm-hmm.
This is the companion. Like it's that much bigger than the actual book.
And the book is a lot of fiction. Like it's a pretty simple game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird, so it's hard to immediately pick it up. But it's
one of the only couple games where I actually told people I actually recommend reading the fiction because I wanted to read more of it, which is super rare in a role playing game.
There is something really interesting about, you take your domains, you have all of these powers you can offer out, but really it's about parsing it. Like you say, once you've played that first wielder, you really start thinking, okay, well, I'm only going to parse out things that are going to help my agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely see the appeal now of just choosing one or two domains.
Yeah. And Rich, it was brilliant knowing now that you were thinking about, well, I got to get rid of him. When I go charging in, of course, I had this guy who was totally trustful of you.
Yeah.
And it was, there you go. That was great. That was really brilliant.
And of course, Goswell, his the logic is you get songs sung about you. I mean, you live for a blink of an eye anyway. This is the best you could have hoped for. I didn't even betray you. I've got other shit going on.
True. Bella will be crying over my grave now.
I really liked why. So weird.
Yeah.
I did too. He was fun.
I thought the Atlas is sort of like, no, I don't deal with this shit. Like, nope, already in it. Can't hear you fighting.
That one was funny. Seeing the two you guys play those characters, Polaris and Ashlis, was good. That was good fun. Now,
I had a blast
Patrick, did I stymie you too much with Gladys?
No, a lot of it was just trying to figure out like how to use the powers and work through. I like definitely in a longer term one, I would have loved Gladys as a starting character, because she's so anti what Y is going for that like okay how do I get her to stop doing this thing? Okay, how do I get her to forget about this place and just go like 1 mile over? Okay, how do I get her to stay here for the night and just go somewhere else tomorrow, sort of thing. I definitely saw the road there. Like I said, a lot of my hitting up against walls was like, oh, I can't do anything like that. Hold on, how do I achieve this?
Okay.
And then eventually, like the nice thing is those wielders will die, and then you're into someone else. So you can like having a wielder who's drives your Vacha nuts for a bit. It can be fun because it's not the whole campaign.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun blip, and then you go to another character.
But yeah, it was that sort of thing of like I started out thinking of it as like the Terry Pratchett luggage. So I was like, okay, I don't need this bitch to have this house anymore, so I'm just gonna eat it and knock it down. Okay, I can't do that. So that took me a while to think about like, okay, how do I drive her out of the house? Which is where the seeing ghosts in the past came from, which I actually liked better as a plan. It's more interesting and definitely more evil on Y's part. So it was an interesting challenge.
Okay, cool. I felt worried at points that maybe I was working too much. Like I had set her up, and that wasn't in my intent. I kind of saw this. No, she's not really a fighter type, but I kept carrying it forward and I realized, oh man, I'm kind of like saying no all the time. I got to work on that. But from exploring the mechanics, I was also trying to hint towards, oh, well, let's roll against and see how that goes.
Yeah, and I'm definitely glad we got there.
You literally played with all of the mechanics the game has to offer.
Yay! That's what one shot's for.
Outside of some of the specific things in the companion, where like, I mean, the one thing that like stopping the power, the power domain thing, which was in like the Victorian, very much Vacha versus Vacha thing, where beyond that, I mean, the actual base wield game, you use them all. It's pretty quick and simple. Except for you can actually appeal to fate to automatically succeed at something if you pay a geese for it. Geese? Is that how? I don't know how it's pronounced. GEAS?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Dozens of different pronunciations.
Yeah. Like, I automatically succeed if I do. I'll do blah if I can succeed, and then fate can just go, yeah, it works.
Yeah, but fate hates us. That lady sucks.
Fate.
Well, there's fate, and then there's the goddess of fate. I'm fate.
Cool.
The goddess of fate hates you. Fate is terribly amused by all of the characters.
This was great. Thank you, Michael, for making time for us to run Wield.
I love the game.
Thank you. I have so many ideas for this thing now.
Yeah, this was very, very interesting. Very, very neat. I'm glad y'all gave me a yell. I'm sorry for Paul that he wasn't here to have his lady gloves be a part of it.
I'm mocking him severely in chat. He feels pretty terrible and slightly upset.
He was in a really unfortunate situation where he could choose to either hear us or be able to talk.
Yeah.
But not both.
Oh.
But actually, not even bringing another person doesn't really take very. I'm glad we had everyone else's stuff made beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
But even adding someone new doesn't take very long.
I appreciate y'all being patient with me getting into it.
It's all good. I liked Polaris.
I did too.
Cool. I'm gonna stop the recording here.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Thank you guys.
It was fun playing with you guys.
I had a lot of fun.